Ladies and gentlemen, there is a moment in every life where sentiment must die so strategy may live. In the theater of power, those who flinch at the sight of discomfort, who soften at the call of conscience, are not the ones who rise, but the ones who are ruled. Today I will speak to you not of kindness, but of clarity, not of morality, but of mastery. These are the lessons that make you strategically cold, especially when the stakes are highest. Coldness, you see, is not cruelty. It is calculation. It is the art of preserving your influence, protecting your domain, and outmaneuvering the chaos of lesser minds. Let us begin. Those who act from feeling are at the mercy of others. Emotion, while often glorified as the essence of humanity, is in fact a double-edged blade, too often turned inward. The world does not stop for your heartbreak, nor does it bend for your rage. If you are to succeed in any game of influence, in any arena where power is at stake, you must treat your emotions not as guides, but as tools. Never allow them to take the wheel. The moment your actions become reactive, the moment they are driven by pain, affection, or insecurity, you are no longer in command. You are responding to forces outside yourself, forces often carefully orchestrated by those who know how to provoke precisely to manipulate. To be strategically cold in important moments is to master emotional discipline, to observe your own passions as you would study an opponent. Without flinching, without surrender. It is not about being emotionless. No, that is a common misunderstanding. It is about being emotionally unbreakable. That means using emotion as a weapon when needed, not allowing it to become a weakness when tested. Anger can be used to intimidate, sorrow to disarm, warmth to attract, but none of it should be authentic if authenticity risks control. You can wear emotion like armor or wield it like a dagger, but never bleed in front of those who seek to conquer you. That is a display reserved for fools, not for those who understand the mechanics of power. People will test you. They will say cruel things, hoping to see you crack. They will appeal to your sympathy to sway your decisions. They will provoke tears to disarm your logic. This is the method of the weak masquerading as the moral. If you allow their emotions to infect your strategy, you will lose more than composure. You will lose direction. This is not to say kindness must be abandoned. It is to say kindness must be placed beneath judgment. Pity, after all, has ruined more leaders than cruelty ever did. The one who acts out of guilt often becomes a slave to the loudest sob, rather than the clearest truth. Your enemies, your rivals, and even your allies will all use emotion to gain ground you do not intend to give. If you do not recognize this, you will offer it freely, believing yourself noble. But nobility that lacks strategy is nothing more than idealism in armor, easily pierced. And what of love? What of loyalty, affection, and trust? These too are emotions that must be filtered through reason. To love without clarity is to place your heart in the hands of another without first checking for a blade. To trust without caution is to gamble your future on the comfort of the present. When you lead with feeling, you are blind to consequence. That blindness is what your enemies depend on. The strategically cold individual sees every emotional impulse as a signal, nothing more, nothing less. A signal to be decoded, examined, and, if useful, deployed, but never obeyed without scrutiny. Just because you feel fear does not mean there is danger. Just because you feel affection does not mean there is loyalty. Feelings lie. Strategy does not. Facts do not. Outcomes do not. The world is watching always. And people are faster to follow those who appear composed than those who appear compassionate. That is the secret that many never understand. In the moments where it matters most, people are drawn not to warmth, but to certainty. They are drawn to the one who does not panic, who does not break, who does not allow emotion to eclipse execution. They follow the steady hand. They follow the cold mind. They follow the one who is not led by feelings, but leads in spite of them. Loyalty is one of the most misunderstood currencies in the realm of human interaction. People often speak of it as if it were sacred, unbreakable, eternal, but in reality, loyalty is rarely more than a transaction dressed in the costume of principle. The cold strategist understands this. They do not romanticize allegiance or mistake long association for permanent alliance. Instead, they view loyalty as a fluctuating asset, subject to change with conditions, incentives, and opportunity. Those who rely on loyalty without reinforcing it are not leaders. They are hostages to illusions. The moment you begin to believe someone will stand by you no matter what, you become blind to the fact that their support is almost always conditional, driven by personal gain, fear, convenience, or admiration that can wither at the first sign of your weakness. The strategically cold individual never asks for loyalty. They manufacture the conditions that make it profitable. They understand that people do not stay loyal to a person, they stay loyal to what that person represents to them. Status, power, protection, opportunity. These are the true pillars of loyalty. Strip them away, and watch how quickly words of loyalty dissolve into silence or betrayal. The mistake many make is believing that loyalty is rooted in morality, as if being good to someone guarantees they will remain loyal. It does not. Goodness is not a binding force. Benefit is. Those who serve you must see that their future is better by your side than against it. The moment that equation changes, so does their allegiance. You must also understand that the world is full of actors. Some will present themselves as unshakably devoted while harboring ambitions that conflict with yours. They may flatter you, offer gestures of solidarity, even make sacrifices. But these are not always signs of loyalty, they are investments. And every investor expects a return. If you cannot provide it, or if your position weakens, they will begin looking elsewhere, just as a merchant leaves a sinking ship to save his cargo. The cold mind does not take offense to this. It does not mourn the disloyal. It plans for their exit before they ever consider it. To trust blindly is not strength. It is exposure. The wise strategist does not rely on trust, but builds systems that make betrayal costly and loyalty advantageous. This does not mean that you must be paranoid or isolated. On the contrary, you may have many allies, but you must know exactly why they stand with you. You must be able to look at each person in your circle and answer, without illusion, what they gain from being close to you. If you cannot answer that, you are not leading, you are simply hoping. Hope is not a strategy. Knowing the balance of benefit in every relationship is. And when the time comes, when the winds change, you must be ready to act. If someone begins to falter in their usefulness or becomes seduced by another's offer, you do not beg. You do not attempt to guilt them back into place. You replace them swiftly, without emotion, without spectacle. The cold strategist understands that no one is irreplaceable, and that clinging to outdated alliances out of nostalgia or sentiment is a luxury reserved for those who do not intend to win. Control loyalty like a puppeteer manages strings, not by belief in the puppet, but by precision in the mechanisms. Ensure those around you are tied not by emotion but by structure, and if those structures begin to decay, reinforce them or cut them. Remember that loyalty is not a gift, it is a rental agreement. You are the landlord of your own power, and if someone stops paying rent, whether in action, allegiance, or value, You evict them before they weaken the foundation of your influence. There is no cruelty in this, only clarity. Those who understand this will thrive. Those who do not will spend their days shocked by betrayal, confused by shifting tides, and forever weakened by their inability to see that loyalty, like all things, comes at a cost and must be managed like any other resource in the pursuit of lasting dominance and unshakable control. Mercy is a seductive ideal, praised in poems, sung in stories, and preached from every place where comfort allows people to forget what power truly demands. But in the realm where serious decisions are made, where power is kept or lost in an instant, mercy is not the default. It is a calculated option, a choice made only when it strengthens your position. To show mercy without first securing your authority is to invite defiance. It is to signal to those who watch from the shadows that you can be moved, swayed, softened. In moments of crisis, when control hangs by a thread, showing mercy to the wrong person or at the wrong time is not noble. It is suicidal. Those who understand the weight of leadership know that the world does not run on fairness or forgiveness. It runs on force, on consequence, on the silent knowledge that to cross a line is to pay a price. People test limits. This is a law as natural as gravity. If someone challenges your authority and faces no consequence, they have learned something dangerous, that they can challenge you again. And others, watching silently, will take note. Mercy in such cases is not a show of strength, no matter how well-intentioned. It is an invitation to be tested again and again until you are no longer feared, no longer respected, no longer obeyed. The cold strategist understands this and never confuses personal compassion with strategic necessity. You may feel pity, you may feel sorrow, but these feelings must be placed behind glass, visible only to yourself, never interfering with the execution of your judgment. This is not a call for cruelty. Cruelty for its own sake is weakness disguised as strength. The point is not to inflict pain, but to maintain order. It is about showing the world that the structure you lead or the authority you hold is not up for negotiation. If discipline is required, it must be delivered swiftly and without hesitation. If an example must be made, it should be clear, clean, and final. And most importantly, it must be understood that mercy is not owed, it is earned. Those who have served loyally, those who have made true contributions, may be spared when it benefits the greater design. But even then, the decision must serve your purpose, not your emotion. What many fail to understand is that, in positions of leadership or influence, you are always sending a message, not just to the person in front of you, but to everyone watching. Mercy sends a message, so does punishment. One says, I can be negotiated with. The other says, my line is the law. Your choice must always be dictated by the kind of control you wish to project. If your image is one of unbreakable authority, then your response to defiance must reinforce that image. Sentiment cannot override strategy. Mercy, when used, must reinforce your dominance, not diminish it. There are moments in life when you must ask yourself what matters more, being liked or being effective. The pursuit of admiration has destroyed many leaders. They crave affection. They wish to be adored. They want their people to love them more than they fear them. But when challenges arise, when decisions must be made that will displease some, this desire becomes a leash around their neck. They hesitate. They compromise. And in that moment of weakness, others strike. The strategically cold person is free of that leash. They do not lead to be loved. They lead to endure, to shape, to survive. Their decisions are not diluted by the fear of being seen as heartless. They understand that when power is secure, mercy can be afforded. But when power is questioned, only clarity and consequence must speak. Success, in its purest and most enduring form, is never accidental, and it never comes without a cost. The world is saturated with those who desire victory, who dream of influence, who speak of greatness in late night whispers and early morning hopes. But very few are willing to pay the price required. That price is often not money, not time, not even effort. It is sentiment. The attachments, the comforts, the emotional securities that most people cling to like life rafts are, in truth, the very weights that keep them from rising. The strategically cold understand this without apology. They know that to ascend, to dominate, to build something unshakable, something others cannot steal or sabotage, one must be willing to sacrifice the warmth of certain emotions for the fire of absolute clarity. Sentiment is the anchor that holds people in place. It whispers to them that the familiar is safe, that the past is sacred, that the people they began with must be the people they finish with. Even when those people become obstacles instead of assets. There is a point in every serious pursuit when you realize that your progress threatens your relationships. You begin to outgrow certain dynamics. Your goals start to demand decisions that those around you cannot understand, or worse, cannot accept. The warm-hearted falter here. They hesitate, they compromise, they try to carry everyone forward, even those who should have been left behind. In doing so, they burden themselves with sentimentality disguised as loyalty, empathy, or humility. The cold strategist does not fall into this trap. They know that success requires clarity, and clarity demands detachment. This does not mean becoming cruel. It means becoming honest. Honest about who adds value and who subtracts. Honest about what must be done, even when it bruises the heart. Honest about what must be lost to gain what others cannot reach. People who are bound by sentiment tend to confuse their feelings with facts. They believe that because someone was there for them once, that person must be there forever. They believe that because something was comforting before, it must be kept at all costs. This is emotional reasoning, and it is the enemy of strategic progress. The strategically cold do not let yesterday's feelings dictate today's decisions. They assess every relationship, every habit, every attachment with the same brutal objectivity that a surgeon uses to cut out disease. What does not serve the future must be severed, not mourned. The past is a reference point, not a rule. You are not bound to repeat it, and you are not obligated to carry it forward if it no longer fits the shape of what you are building. In the pursuit of high-level success, you will have to say no to things that once defined you. You will have to walk away from people who loved a version of you that no longer exists. You will be called cold, arrogant, selfish. But these are the words of those who fear transformation, who cling to the comfort of the known even as it rots. To move with strategy means to see further than emotion allows. It means choosing discomfort now to build strength later. It means accepting loneliness, criticism, misunderstanding, all for the sake of a vision that others are too sentimental to pursue. And when the moment comes, when you must decide between keeping someone close or moving ahead without them, between staying in your comfort zone or stepping into risk, between doing what feels good and doing what is necessary, you must choose the latter without flinching. The path of the strategist is often a quiet one, not because they lack feelings, but because they control them. They feel the same pain, the same doubt, the same longing as anyone else, but they do not allow those emotions to become barriers. They use them as data, as warnings, but never as laws. Success belongs to the one who can move forward even when it hurts, who can detach when necessary, who can see the emotional trap before stepping into it, and who chooses the cold clarity of truth over the soft chains of sentiment every single time without apology. Appearances are the armor of the strategist, the elegant disguise beneath which precision and calculation reside. In a world that responds more to surface than substance, the ability to project warmth while operating with cold intent is not just a skill, it is a weapon. People are drawn to what makes them feel safe, seen, understood. They do not follow logic first. They follow emotion, charm, the illusion of shared humanity. The strategist knows this and makes use of it without ever being seduced by it. The cold mind wears a warm face not out of hypocrisy, but out of necessity. Charm is not honesty, it is a tactic. Warmth is not weakness, it is camouflage. It allows access where force would be rejected. It opens doors that suspicion would close. It makes others lower their guard while you map the room, assess the threats, and plan your next move with surgical care. Most people want to believe in the authenticity of others. They are comforted by the belief that what they see is what exists. When you appear kind, they believe you are kind. When you appear empathetic, they assume you are safe. But for the one who plays at a higher level, this belief becomes a lever to manipulate. You do not need to be cruel to control others. You only need to be trusted. The strategist maintains this trust by mastering emotional signals. A perfectly timed smile, a thoughtful silence, a glance of understanding. These gestures build bridges into the minds of others. They create the illusion of connection while keeping true intentions hidden behind a wall of calm, neutral calculation. To appear warm is to deflect suspicion. It makes rivals underestimate you. It makes adversaries believe you lack edge. They mistake courtesy for softness, compassion for lack of ambition. And by the time they realize the truth, that your demeanor is a tool, not a mirror, it is already too late. The cold strategist understands the game is won not just by what is done, but by how it is perceived. Public perception, personal relationships, negotiations, all are shaped by the image you project. If that image is managed with care, you never have to raise your voice to command attention. You never have to show aggression to provoke fear. You never have to force loyalty when others feel they chose you freely. Not knowing it was your design from the beginning. Those who insist on being seen exactly as they are make a grave mistake. They confuse transparency with strength, authenticity with virtue. They believe that hiding nothing makes them brave, when in reality it makes them vulnerable. The world does not reward full disclosure. It punishes it. The more people know about your inner workings, the more they can predict, control, and eventually sabotage you. The strategically cold protect their inner world with the discipline of a vault. They speak with purpose, not impulse. They reveal only what reinforces the role they intend to play. Every gesture is calculated, every interaction measured, every word selected for its impact, rather than its honesty. You do not need to show the sharpness of your mind to everyone. You do not need to prove your strength in every room. Let others see you as agreeable, supportive, open. Let them feel at ease in your presence. Let them speak freely while you collect the information they do not realize they are giving away. Let them believe you are predictable, soft, manageable. And when the time comes to act, to shift, to strike, you will do so without resistance, because the field was softened long before the first move was made. Operating cold does not mean isolating yourself or treating people as disposable. It means choosing control over impulse. It means valuing outcomes over impressions. It means being emotionally intelligent enough to know what others need to see and disciplined enough not to let them see what you truly are. Power, real power, is built not just on action, but on the ability to make others believe you are acting for reasons they can trust, while the true reason remains buried, untouched, unreachable by anyone but you. There comes a moment in every pursuit of power when the bridge between where you are and where you intend to go becomes a liability. Most people hesitate at that moment, torn by nostalgia, guilt, or fear of isolation. They worry about burning bridges because they still believe in the illusion of permanent alliance, the hope that past relationships will continue to serve their future purpose. The strategically cold do not suffer from this delusion. They know that not every connection is meant to last. They understand that the same hands that once helped build their rise can become the hands that later drag them down. When a bridge no longer serves the route forward, it becomes an obstacle, and the cold strategist is willing to burn it. Quietly, cleanly, and without remorse. Burning a bridge does not mean making a scene, nor does it require loud confrontation. It simply means cutting off access. It means removing the channel through which influence, manipulation, or dependency flows. It is a deliberate act, one that signals that a certain phase of your life, a certain relationship, a certain alliance has expired. Many avoid this out of fear. Fear of being seen as ruthless, fear of standing alone, fear of future regret. But regret is the currency of the sentimental. The strategist deals only in outcomes. If a relationship no longer brings value, if it compromises your principles, leaks your information, drains your focus, or threatens your momentum, it must be ended, not managed. People often claim to value loyalty, but what they actually value is convenience. They stay close when it benefits them, when the path is easy, when the rewards are shared. But the moment you rise beyond them or take a direction they cannot follow, their loyalty becomes resentment in disguise. You must learn to detect the shift early. Watch for the subtle signs: delayed replies, passive resistance, disguised envy, the silence that replaces support. These are warnings. Ignore them, and you will allow someone close to you to plant seeds of doubt, confusion, or sabotage in your foundations. Recognize them, and you have the chance to sever the tie before it becomes a threat. Burning bridges is not about vengeance. It is about clarity. It is about protecting the architecture of your vision from rot. Every time you allow a stagnant relationship to persist, you are giving energy to something that gives you nothing in return. You are spending attention on someone who has already made the choice to no longer grow with you. You are allowing an old version of yourself to dictate the terms of your present. The cold strategist understands that power requires pruning, that elevation requires elimination, that you cannot climb while dragging dead weight. No matter how familiar, how loyal, or how long standing that weight once was, some bridges must be burned publicly to send a message. Others must be burned silently to avoid drama and maintain your strategic positioning. The key is to always know why you are doing it, and to do it with a full heart, not in the emotional sense, but in the strategic one. A full heart in this context means complete conviction, no second guessing, no wavering, no longing for what used to be. You do not look back at the fire once it starts. You walk forward with your eyes on the path ahead, trusting that what you've let go of was not built to carry you further. Most importantly, do not warn people that the bridge is about to burn. Do not threaten, do not dramatize, do not seek their approval for your exit. Simply move, cut contact, withdraw attention, end access, When you do this without announcement, it creates the strongest effect. It communicates that your boundaries are not negotiable, that your time is not up for compromise, that your direction is no longer tied to theirs. And if they wonder why, let them. The cold strategist owes no explanations to those they've outgrown, only results, only progress, only silence where there used to be connection. And in that silence, your power grows, undistracted, unchallenged, uninterrupted. You may have a heart, but that does not mean the world should see it. You may feel deeply, but that does not mean you must act on those feelings when power, clarity, and control are at stake. The difference between those who lead and those who follow is not the presence of emotion, but the ability to contain it, to keep it locked behind walls that only open in private, in silence, far from the places where decisions are made and strategies are shaped. The cold strategist does not kill the heart. They cage it. They acknowledge their feelings, but never allow those feelings to dictate terms when the stakes are high. The heart is real, but it does not sit at the table. It observes. It waits. It speaks only when summoned, and even then, it must never override the command of the mind. Emotional expression has become a virtue in the eyes of the weak. It is celebrated, encouraged, mistaken for authenticity and strength. But those who wield power understand that emotion is to be controlled, not displayed. Especially in moments of high tension, conflict, betrayal, or loss, showing what you feel too freely gives away your position. It tells your enemies where to strike. It reveals what matters most to you. It invites manipulation. People study your reactions far more than they listen to your words. They test your resolve by watching your face, listening for the tremor in your voice, reading the hesitation in your silence. If your heart is exposed in these moments, you will be dissected and disarmed before you even understand what has happened. The ability to remain composed is not a lack of depth. It is discipline. It is understanding that while emotions are natural, acting on them impulsively is a privilege only afforded to those who have nothing to lose. If you are building something of value, protecting something rare, or pursuing something others fear to chase, you cannot afford that luxury. You must think in terms of preservation and power, not personal comfort. You must recognize that every emotional reaction is data. It may tell you how you feel, but it also tells you what must be managed, not what must be obeyed. Just because you feel fear does not mean you retreat. Just because you feel anger does not mean you retaliate. Just because you feel affection does not mean you trust. The heart experiences, but the strategist decides. People often confuse coldness with emptiness, believing that to withhold emotion is to lack it. But true strategic coldness comes from having full emotional awareness and still choosing control over expression. It is restraint that creates power. It is knowing you could collapse into grief, rage, or sentiment, but refusing to do so until it serves you, and often it never will. There is strength in delayed reaction, in private suffering, in the ability to hurt silently while maintaining an unshakable exterior. The strategist does not seek pity. They do not ask for understanding. They do not share their inner world unless doing so has a purpose. They do not invite others into their emotions, because they know once someone steps inside your heart, they can rearrange the furniture, lock doors, or set fires that burn deeper than any weapon ever could. This is why those who lead with emotion are eventually undone by it. They feel slighted and respond in haste. They feel guilty and offer too much. They feel loyal and stay too long. They feel afraid and compromise too soon. Each time they believe they are acting from truth, but in reality, they are reacting to noise. The cold strategist hears the noise and listens, but does not flinch. They see the emotional storm and do not step into it. They hold their line. They make their move when it suits the mission, not the moment. They may feel everything, but they do not let those feelings write the outcome. Keeping your heart locked away is not about being unfeeling. It is about being untouchable. It is about moving through chaos with stillness, through betrayal with calculation, through loss with purpose. When others break down, you will remain standing. When others beg for empathy, you will offer silence. When others panic, you will execute. Because while others are ruled by what they feel, you will be ruled by what you know. And that, more than any feeling, is what builds empires that do not fall. So, when the moment comes, and it will, when the crowd pleads for mercy, when your friends urge caution, when your own soul whispers that you're being too harsh, too ambitious, too cold, smile and remember this: history does not honor those who hesitated. It honors those who won. Let others rule by warmth, by chance, by love. You rule by design. Because in the end, it is not the warm who survived the storm. It is the one who saw it coming and did not blink. Thank you.